So you say you're an internal communications specialist, and you aren't as effective as you used to be. You have hard-to-reach employees working remotely all over the place, and you have 100 different communications tools, and no one knows what to use to get news and information. And do they even care at all? Well, it sounds like a conundrum, a corporate communications conundrum. Who was that guy? Anyways, it's Lee again with the Microsoft Teams App Factory. I want to show you how you can leverage your Microsoft 365 licensing to totally transform the way you manage internal communications, consolidating and condensing your communications tools under the lens of Microsoft Teams, giving your employees a better user experience and increasing the likelihood that they're going to consume the corporate news that you work so hard to create, and even eliminating those old school email blasts that no one reads anyways, and moving the same content to something more effective. I'm going to show you all of this at the next Teams App Factory, a corporate communications conundrum. And you'll even get to hear from one of your peers who's been successful implementing these improvements in their own company. So register using the link on the screen or in the email you received, and I'll see you there. Good morning, everybody. And depending on where you're joining us from, perhaps good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Welcome to today's edition of the Microsoft Teams App Factory. My name is Lee Borschow, and I'm a Customer Success Director at Microsoft. And I will be your host today on this journey of digital transformation where we endeavor to shift the paradigm and completely turn the way you think about how you work upside down using this concept called citizen development. With no code, it's no problem, because you can do all this even with little to no technical acumen. I promise there is going to be very little slideware today. It is going to be mostly demonstration. So let's jump right in, and I'm going to hand it off to my good friends and colleagues, Angela Rapadas and Tatiana Castillo. And they're going to start with something really special, as they speak to one of your peers, who's going to talk about how he has helped his organization build a culture of citizen development to really take the way they execute their business to the next level.
Hi, everyone. We are fortunate to be joined today by Andrew Gaskin, the Global Power Platform Lead for Lumen Technologies. So welcome, Andrew, and thank you so much for giving your time to us today. I will start by asking a few questions, and Tati will join as well. The first question is really all about digital transformation and innovation. It is top of mind for a lot of our companies, but in parallel, there's also budget and resource constraints, requiring companies to do more with less. So couple that, though, with high expectations for transformation, and then mix that with challenges that deal with processes that are slow and inefficient and things that can be automated. So can you tell us a little bit about what platform you chose to address this business need? And if you can also provide an overview of the citizen development community that you built around this platform.
Sure, absolutely. So Power Platform for us was kind of a natural choice, given how we use Office 365 at the time, now M365. We kind of had a natural growth of that out of especially like the SharePoint side of things. And so we saw people gravitating towards it as a tool, initially using SharePoint as their data source in a lot of instances. So we had people starting to build apps based on this kind of data. And then that kind of pushed us along our journey to look at licensing, to change how we were doing some of the things, and looking at integration with custom connectors, being able to hit like SQL, Oracle, and then that moved slowly into Dataverse as a backend. So what we saw was there was this platform that people kind of intuitively knew how to use because of the tools that they already were using through the Office suite or through SharePoint or things like that. So out of that, we saw this community kind of organically grow. It wasn't something that we initially pushed. It just kind of happened. And I've said it before at Lumen, we have really curious, really smart people. So if something's put in front of them, they're gonna go figure out how to use it, how to make things better, how to make their job better. And that's kind of really how we got to the Lumen Makers community. So it was originally a community of people who were 365 users. And then we thought, well, maybe we should tap into this area. So we started looking at the Power Automate in that area, Power Apps, and we built these communities. And then ultimately, Lumen Makers came out of that. And now Lumen Makers is just a little over 1,700 people who regularly contribute and work with each other and work with us.
That is amazing. And I love the fact that you highlighted curiosity, because that's really what fuels a lot of growth, especially within an organization, right? Now, going into this next question here, we know Microsoft Power Platform is a pretty disruptive technology, but it's also transforming careers of citizen developers, and it's changing this idea of how technology solutions can be delivered. So there's a common fear associated within IT around governance and security. You can label it shadow IT, if you will, right? So what would you recommend as best practices for enabling Power Platform, and what you would consider Power Platform being that career catalyst for those citizen developers?
So yeah, we've seen that a lot at Lumen. We have people who literally transform their careers. One woman that I worked with, who 20 plus years in the company, one of those that came in at the ground floor, continued to work her way through, and didn't have a lot of the technology experience in this area with what she really was doing, and started to create these apps. And again, that was out of curiosity, some out of necessity, and then quickly became the app maker for that area. She transformed her career. She's recognized for what she did. We've seen this in other areas like HR. We have a number of groups now who have dedicated app builders. And that's what they're doing, and they love it. That's the other thing. They're excited about what they do, and that's something that I see a lot is as people start using the Power Platform and they start seeing what they can do, they get excited about it. And when there's that concern around the platform as a whole, I think there are a couple things around it. You'll have this approach of like us, it organically grew. And then you have to look at how are we going to manage that. We were fortunate, originally to kind of get in front of it with how we handled our DLP strategy. And then that's continued to grow. It's an always evolving, always growing. If you're starting out and you haven't implemented the Power Platform yet, it's a perfect opportunity to look at, say, okay, what do we want our environment strategy to be long term? How are we going to protect our data? How do we want our users to use this? And do we want to pilot it for certain groups? The thing that I love about it is when you have the argument about shadow IT. The thing is that you don't know where that is. You can't monitor it. It's sitting under someone's desk, and then you find out 5 years later that there's a server that's been running under the desk, which has been running these operations. And what we find is that when you have these controls around the Power Platform, you might have someone who is initially doing something that you're like, oh, we probably shouldn't be doing that. But you found out because you're able to see what's going on. Not only that, you can go and then work with that maker and find out what they're doing, why they're doing it. And a lot of times you've got a really good justification as to why you should continue doing it and let the platform build on that.
That's amazing, Andrew. And I know Angela has her third question here, but thank you for sharing a little bit around how the governance can really support the Power Platform.
So Andrew, given all of the success that you have had at Lumen with your Lumen Makers community, what advice would you give folks who are just starting out? They're just seeking this out as an idea. How could you help others sort of, in terms of giving advice on how you can secure sponsorship for starting out such a community? Because I think sponsorship is key. And what resources would you recommend them tap into as they're starting out, given they're not alone in this journey? There's so many people like you who have already done this before.
There's an enormous community, and it's everywhere you look and for every type of thing that you want to do. Kind of looking at who should be your sponsor initially, we find success in that kind of director level. And then that allows you to kind of work up to that level and then have those communications above that. I think in a lot of areas, depending on the size of the company, your C-level execs may be more involved. But in larger companies, having that kind of director level approach, I think really makes a difference, especially when they're engaged. I think if you're trying to learn more about the Power Platform, the resources that we constantly point people to are Microsoft Learn. We find the paths there to be absolutely fantastic. YouTube is your best friend, especially like the Power Cat videos, things like that. We are always telling people to go to those. Then your local communities, and those local communities can also be online communities, but they are all out there in the Microsoft user groups. So we have, for instance, I started the Global Power Platform Admins user group, which just rolls right off the tongue. And we did that because there wasn't a place for us to go ask questions of each other, because we're kind of a small group, but that does exist, and it's a resource, and there are resources like that everywhere.
Thank you for sharing not only these resources and helpful advice, but the journey that you've been through. This has been super helpful, and we look forward to hearing more in the future in terms of what more the Lumen makers will accomplish.
Thank you very
Thanks, Andrew.
much.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
It was great to hear Lumen Technologies' journey of using Power Platform to solve business problems. Now we're shifting the conversation to talk about you. Each and every one of you, from individual contributors to people managers from any organization, can start using low-code, no-code solutions today to help automate day-to-day redundant tasks. Wouldn't you love to free up time so you can focus on the more important stuff? And we aren't kidding. You do not need coding experience to unleash the power of Teams and Power Platform. These simple, out-of-the-box solutions can be used with just a few clicks and are built on the secure Microsoft platform you already own. This is what no code, no problem is all about.
Angela, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction to No Code, No Problem. Productivity and well-being have been on top of everyone's mind for the last 3 years. Today, we're going to focus on 3 key scenarios where innovation and automation can boost your personal productivity. Specifically, we'll dive into calendar management, email management, and employee recognition. Now, as I'm sure you've all seen, Microsoft loves giving demos, but today we're going to do things a little different. We're going to be following an actual company and employees through their transformation journey with the Power Platform. Let's dive in to see how the folks at Contoso Electronics utilize Power Platform to unlock citizen development and new productivity efficiencies today. Lynn is a dedicated and knowledgeable retail associate on Adele Vance's team. She's passionate about the Power Platform and its capabilities, so much so that she's become a champion for the retail team. One day, Lynn was approached by her manager, Adele. Adele was curious about the Power Platform, specifically how she can leverage these tools to improve her personal productivity. Lynn was thrilled to share her knowledge and expertise and eagerly agreed to guide her manager on this journey of transformation with the Power Platform. Let's dig into the experience. It's the first of the month, and Adele has just received her personal monthly digest email from Microsoft Viva Insights. As I'm sure you're aware, this email provides valuable insights and information to help people optimize their work patterns and improve their overall productivity and well-being. While reading through her digest, Adele uncovered some alarming trends in her work patterns that she plans to address immediately. She combs over the insights and suggestions for improving her work patterns and behaviors, but decides to dig deeper into improving her calendar management. Now, as you know, it's difficult to do everything manually, so she decides to look deeper into some helpful automations. Before we dig into Adele's journey of calendar management, I'd like to highlight the value of starting your productivity journey with Power Automate. Power Automate is designed to be user-friendly, making it quick to start automating tasks and processes. Besides its intuitive design, its easy-to-use logic, and amazing connectors, Power Automate also includes a large library of templates that are pre-built and ready to use. These templates can be easily customized to fit specific needs and can be used as the starting point for creating new flows. Overall, Power Automate is designed to be easy to use and quick to start, making it a great option for automating tasks and processes. Whether you're an experienced programmer or you're just starting out, Power Automate provides an accessible and effective solution for automating tasks and streamlining your workflows. Now let's jump right in. Adele wasted no time. She jumped into her calendar management transformation journey by connecting with colleagues for feedback on where she could improve as a meeting organizer and a meeting participant. Her colleagues responded with 2 immediate suggestions. If Adele began setting an agenda for her meetings, it would help colleagues prioritize which meetings are actually required for attendance and which ones are optional in case of overlapping calls. Another suggestion was communication, communication, communication. If you're going to be running late to another call, just let us know. It can give us a chance to refill our coffees and waters, and we might even be able to get up and stretch our legs a bit. And finally, these last 2 are personal to what Adele has been struggling with. She's constantly overbooking her calendar with the expectation that meetings might get canceled. She needs to find a better way of learning when a call is canceled, especially when she's in back-to-back meetings. And that last note, she needs to prioritize time for catching up on messages and learning. Her workdays have gotten so packed that she's now dipping into the evening to wrap things up, which is impacting her quiet hours. With these improvements in mind, Adele decides to reach out to her colleague, Lynn Robbins, the Power Platform champion on the retail team. She explains the situation, and Lynn is quick to respond with a direct link to some helpful Power Automate templates. When browsing through the templates, Adele found an entire section dedicated to calendar flows. Now, as you can see, there are a ton of templates to choose from, so Adele decides to narrow her search by starting with the first improvement her colleagues suggested, an "I'm running late" flow. She begins searching for the keywords "late to meeting" and finds an instant flow template for notifying coworkers about running late to meetings. Perfect! She clicks into the template and sees that it uses connections to Outlook and that the notification will be pushed via email. Although this is a great solution, she needs to notify her teammates through Microsoft Teams. So with some simple modifications, she was able to turn this email notification template into a Teams chat notification that she rebranded "I'm running late." So as we move into Microsoft Teams, you'll see that Adele has tested out the flow because she's instantly hit with a notification from the Power Automate chatbot. It tells her that her upcoming meeting is about to begin and prompts her with an option to either send or dismiss the running late message. In this example, Adele decides to hit send, and just like that, she has a working flow to help her notify her colleagues when she's running late to meetings. With the completion of this first flow, Adele is able to go back to her list and mark off one of her action items, notifying teammates when she's running late to calls. Now next, we're going to tackle a notification for when meetings on your calendar have been canceled. Let's dig in. In addition to the web experience, Power Automate exists inside of Microsoft Teams as an app. It allows users to automate workflows and tasks directly within the Teams environment. With this app, you can do everything that you can do on the web, automate actions like sending notifications, or even create and update records. So as you can see on this page, under the Create tab, you have access to all of the Teams templates that existed on the web. And when I scroll over to the Home tab, you'll see all of the existing flows that Adele has created for herself. As you can see, Adele has deployed the Notify of Canceled Meetings flow. And what this will do is scan your calendar every 30 minutes to check for any recent canceled meetings. So when a one-time canceled meeting is discovered, the automation will remove it from your calendar and notify you via Teams. In this case, Adele's been preparing for her upcoming Contoso and Microsoft call, but it was just canceled by the meeting organizer from Microsoft. So when she goes into her chat notifications and clicks into Power Automate, she sees this notification of cancellation right within Teams. Now that Adele has a working canceled meeting notification flow, she can go ahead and check it off of her list. And while she's doing that, let's remember why she started this transformation journey in the first place. To improve her personal productivity. And a great next step is blocking time for learning. Adele hops back into Power Automate to find a working flow that she can leverage to block time for learning on her calendar. She finds the perfect solution and decides to hit continue. Now what you'll notice is it loads up the solution in her flow environment. So to start, she decides to change the name to Block Learning Time. Then from here, you can see everything that goes into making this flow work, starting from the manual trigger all the way down to its connection with our calendar. Now, this piece is what Adele needs to edit in order for the flow to work. She starts by selecting her calendar and then ends with her time zone. Now, in this case, Adele works in the Pacific time. Once she's made these changes, she can hit save, and she'll get a green check mark once the flow is saved successfully. From here, she can go ahead and test it manually by entering in those first parameters we noticed. Adele likes saving learning time for the end of her workday, so she decides to do it from 4 p.m. all the way to 5 p.m., a solid hour. Now, once these selections are in, we'll go ahead and hit test and see the magic happen. Now that we have that green check mark for success, let's hop back into our team's calendar. The learning time block was a success. Every day of the week, she has learning time from 4 to 5 p.m. And by default, it's marked as free. So what she can do is go in and change this to busy and even give it a category to make it look different from other meetings on her calendar. Now she can go back to her list and mark this flow as complete. And we've saved the best for last, setting meeting agendas when an invitation doesn't have one. Now, as we mentioned at the start, Adele is notorious for leaving off agendas with her invitations. So she found a flow that pushes a notification through Teams chat to the meeting organizer when an agenda is left off of a meeting invitation. So as you can see here, her flow is running perfectly. She set up a chat with Lynn to discuss the Power Automate solution she'd uncovered, but forgot to mention what the meeting was about. So, as the flow should, it pushed through a notification that she left off the meeting agenda, allowing her to go in and rectify the situation. She can now go back to her list and check off that final calendar management transformation flow. Adele has done it. She completed her calendar management transformation goal, and it was all thanks to the help of her good friend Lynn. So she made sure to send over a little thank you message with a little note on her next adventure, email management. But before we really dig into that, let's reflect on calendar management. Calendar management can provide a number of benefits for individuals and organizations. By efficiently managing our calendars, we can ensure that we're making the best use of our time and prioritizing important tasks. With solutions like notifying ourselves of canceled meetings, pushing out an I'm running late notification, having a reminder to set meeting agendas, and scheduling time for learning, we can improve not only our productivity, but the productivity of the organization around us. If you were to look up the definition of a Power Platform champion, I'm fairly confident you'd find a picture of Lynn Robbins. Have you ever heard of prolonged sustainability? Well, in the context of Power Platform, it's this idea that you can improve solution stickiness in the future by ensuring that the Power Platform tools are responsibly managed and maintained today. By sharing the Power Automate templates and encouraging Adele to take charge of her own transformation, Lynn was able to prolong the sustainability of the Power Platform. Adele's improved understanding of Power Automate is the reason why she's now ready to take on the next challenge in her personal productivity journey, her email management. When managing your email, automation can help save time and increase efficiency. But most important, it reduces the risk of missing important emails due to manual error. Let's dig in. Now that we've hopped back into Microsoft Teams, you can see that Adele has updated her loop component to fit the email management transformation goal. She's put in 3 key tasks that she wants to accomplish. The first is adding important emails to her to-do list. Second, she needs to find a way to narrow her focus so she can complete what needs to get done immediately. And finally, she needs to find a way to prioritize customer emails. Adele embarks on this next transformation by starting with turning emails into to-do items. This involves creating tasks or action items based on the contents of an email. Adele's old process for turning emails into to-do items is as follows. First, she reads the email to determine the action required. In this case, we're going to use Northwind acquisition details as our example email. From here, she creates a to-do item in the Tasks by Planner and To-Do app on Microsoft Teams by copying over the important details. Or she can right-click on the email, go to Advanced Action, and hit Create Task, which will open up the To-Do page on the right-hand side of our inbox. And at the very top, you'll see the Northwind acquisition details. Now, this email attachment shows that no matter where you are, as long as you can access To-Do, you can access the original email. Next, she right-clicks on the task and sets the due date of February 10th. Finally, she wraps up by marking the email as read and moving it to the appropriate subfolder to clean up her inbox. As you can see, this process is very manual and takes a lot of time. She typically waits until the end of her workday to even start digging into her inbox and doesn't even look at tasks until the next morning. We need to find a way to automate this process so it's less manual and she can actually act upon tasks immediately. Now that we're back in Power Automate, you can see that Adele found a great flow template for turning emails into to-do items. This flow will create a task in Microsoft To Do for key emails that Adele receives, and she defines what important and key means. It can be emails coming from leadership, her work group, her manager, or it might even be emails containing key phrases in the subject line. To start, Adele decides to define important by keeping it simple and saying any email that is sent to her inbox by leadership, her work group, and her manager. By regularly turning these emails into to-do items, she can maintain better control over her tasks and prioritize her work more effectively. I'm going to go ahead and check out the run history of this flow. And the reason I'm saying this is because Adele just ran a test on an important email that came through from her manager, Miriam, regarding the new in-store customer service counters. You can see that this test was successful. So let's hop back into Outlook to see just exactly what happened with our action item. As you can see, everything went according to plan. We have our new email from Miriam, and it's listed as our top priority task in our to-do list. So now we can mark this email as read and move it to the appropriate subfolder. Now that we've created a working flow and are satisfied with its results, we can go ahead and mark Add Important Email to My To-Do List off of our transformation journey. Let's now pivot to narrowing our focus on what needs to get done with a daily consolidated task list. Before we dig into making a daily consolidated task list, let's go into the Tasks app in Microsoft Teams, which, as you'll see, pulls information from the To-Do app in Outlook, like our Northwind acquisition details task and our new in-store customer service counters task. But you'll also see some other tasks that were created using the Teams app that we can mark off as complete, like connecting with Lynn to talk about Power Automate and the first 4 flows in Adele's calendar management transformation. As you can see, Adele has created a new flow that provides an email notification with a daily consolidated list of her upcoming tasks. This list will help bring all of Adele's tasks into one location so she can effectively use her focus time to complete them. Based on the configuration, she will receive a daily email with a list of her overdue tasks, tasks that are due today, her upcoming tasks, and old tasks without due dates. She can then schedule focus time from the daily email or have it automatically scheduled for her based on her preferences. Each scheduled event will include that day's consolidated list of upcoming tasks in the event details. Now, one thing you'll notice that makes this flow unique is this Run Flow button. Now, the difference here is we can press this Play Run Flow button in order to run the flow directly from this home page. Whereas with the other flows, we had to go into the editing menu. So now let's hop over to Outlook and see what our flow has produced. Now that Adele is back in her inbox, we can see that she received a new email from herself. And it's actually a note sent by the Daily Consolidated Task List, sharing her tasks that are due today, her upcoming tasks, and the ability to schedule focus time to complete all this work. Now let's head back to our Teams loop to mark this flow as complete. Now that we've completed our second flow, we can pivot to our final flow in our email management transformation journey, and that's finding a way to prioritize customer emails. Adele is constantly hit with emails both internally and externally and needs to find a way to prioritize what she tackles first. So let's dig into the templates and see if we can identify a solution that can help her out. After connecting with Lynn and a couple other colleagues, Adele decides sentiment analysis is the route she wants to take. She searches for the key terms, email sentiment, and finds the perfect solution that leverages AI Builder and sends the results directly to Teams. This template also has a connection to the premium Dataverse, which is perfect for what she's looking for. As we go into her flows, you'll see that Adele successfully deployed the template and even had a successful test when we check out her run history. She received 2 inbound emails from a customer. Let's pop into Teams to see what the sentiment analysis looks like. As you can see, our test was successful. Adele received an adaptive card message containing the neutral sentiment analysis of that inbound customer email. We can now go into her loop component and mark off our last transformation target for email management. Now that Adele has successfully wrapped up her email management transformation with the deployment of 3 flows, let's reflect on why we started this in the first place. Managing emails is an important aspect of personal and professional communication and can have a significant impact on productivity, efficiency, and effectiveness. The 3 flows that Adele decided to deploy were turning emails into to-do items, creating a daily consolidated task of these to-do items, and then leveraging AI sentiment analysis for new emails that she receives. By regularly turning emails into to-do items, she can maintain better control over her tasks and prioritize her work more effectively. Once all of her tasks and to-dos are created, she can automate a daily list of the tasks she needs to complete during her focus time, allowing her to stay on top of what's important. And then finally, sentiment analysis in email can be a valuable tool for understanding the emotional tone and context of the email. It can provide valuable insights into customer sentiment, improve communication and collaboration, and even help Contoso make data-driven decisions based on customer feedback. Adele is now well into her productivity transformation journey with functioning calendar and email management automations. She connects with Lynn to talk about the value these solutions can bring to their larger retail team. A great way of polling for valuable solutions is by initiating an employee ideas campaign. And once they've identified some top solutions, Adele and Lynn can test and share the templates with their team. Now, it's no secret Adele's success is due in great deal to Lynn's support. As a champion, Lynn made sure Adele had all of her building blocks for success with both her personal and organizational productivity goals. This final chapter of Adele's transformation journey is all about employee recognition, and we have a front row ticket to the show. So let's dive in to Teams to see the effectiveness of her ideas campaign and an outstanding display of recognition for Lynn. This final chapter of employee recognition is very important to Adele. She updates her loop component to reflect the activities she needs to wrap up in order to close out her productivity transformation journey. She'll kick things off with a Do More with Less campaign to share her automation templates with the larger retail team. She'll then share some individual praise with Lynn that can be highlighted in her end-of-year champion review. Finally, she'll double down on the praise for Lynn by broadcasting a custom adaptive card to the general channel of their retail team as a display of the group's overall gratitude for her continuous support. To kick off our Do More with Less campaign, let's head on over to Adele's teams. The channel we'll be using is the general channel of the retail team, which you'll find pinned at the top of her Teams rail. Now, at the top of this general channel, we'll see all of our tabs and the option to add a tab. When we click Add a tab and search for Employee Ideas, we'll see the application pop up. Once we select Add Employee Ideas to a tab in our channel, we can actually post about the news to the channel and hit Save. The Employee Ideas app in Microsoft Teams is a tool for organizations to capture and manage ideas from employees. It allows employees to submit and share ideas with their team and the wider organization, and provides a platform for tracking, evaluating, and implementing those ideas. This app is integrated with Microsoft Teams, allowing employees to easily access and participate in the idea submission process. Employee ideas can help organizations to foster a culture of innovation and collaboration by encouraging employees to share their ideas and collaborate on solutions. The app also provides insights and metrics on the idea submission process, allowing organizations to evaluate the impact of their employee engagement initiatives. As you can see on the screen, our application is done loading, so we can hit Got It with our message and begin creating our Do More with Less campaign. Since Adele is managing this Do More with Less campaign, she is operating from within the Manage Ideas app tab in the general channel of the retail team. If she wanted to create this campaign from scratch, she could go over to the right-hand side and select the Add Campaign button. But as you can see, she's already gone ahead and launched the Do More with Less campaign. As she clicks into the editing view, you can see how Adele made this campaign a reality. A unique name, campaign description, active submission timeline window, and a fun photo to jazz things up. When she hits the back button, she's directed to the home page for managing campaign ideas. Now, when Adele goes into the general channel posts, you'll see that a channel thread was created with the details around the Do More with Less campaign. As a call to action, she tags her retail teammates and encourages them to go upvote their top 5 automation solutions from the campaign. So Adele heads back to the Manage Ideas app. She clicks into the campaign, and as you can see, there's 7 ideas submissions that she posted for calendar and email management automations. And on the right-hand side, you can see which solutions are most valued based on an upvoting system. Now that Adele has identified the top 5 solutions her teammates are likely to use, she can start sending copies so that they can leverage these automations today. Aside from sharing links to the flow templates, Adele has 2 easy ways of sharing her flows with her colleagues. The first is by sending a direct copy through Power Automate. The second is by exporting the flow and sharing the zip file download with teammates so that they can import the solution into their environments. To dig into these 2 ways of sharing, let's use the Notify of Canceled Meetings flow as our example. At the very top, you'll see the opportunity to send a copy of the flow directly from within Power Automate. You add a title, description, and then the recipient of this flow. Let's use Lynn as our example. Once this information's in, you hit send, and that green check marks tells us the flow was sent successfully. The other option is right next to the send a copy feature, and it's the export. Once we've selected export as a zip file package, we are moved into the package details page, where we can give the flow its name and description. Additionally, we'll be able to choose our export options and add comments to provide instructions for the folks importing this solution. Once everything is to our liking, we can hit export and the zip file will download to our local machine. We can then create an email, chat message, or channel post to share the package with our colleagues. When we hop back into Teams, we can see that Adele has already created a follow-up message on the channel thread for the Do More with Less email campaign. In this post, she shares the top 5 solutions as zip file packages that are stored in the Files section of this general channel. We can go back to our loop component and mark our first action item as complete. Now it's time to share praise for the amazing work that Lynn has done. In order to send some individual praise that Lynn can highlight in her champion reviews, Adele hops into the Viva Insights app. The top section of her Dynamics dashboard is all about sending praise. She hits the Send Praise button and begins working on the card for Lynn. Adele wants this to be personal, so she chooses the chat delivery option. She then types in her thank you note to Lynn and changes the color scheme of the card. Finally, she previews the card for one last glance and hits send once she's satisfied with the message. By continuously sending praise through Viva Insights, Adele can encourage a culture of appreciation and positivity. Since the praise was sent successfully to Lynn, we can go ahead and mark off the second action item in our transformation loop for employee recognition. Now it's time for our last item, a custom thank you note to Lynn on behalf of the entire retail team. Let's hop back over to Power Automate to see how we can do this. Creating a custom adaptive card can be pretty scary, especially if you're just starting out on your Power Platform journey. Thankfully, Microsoft has created the adaptivecard.io site. There are tons of card samples to choose from: birthday messages, work anniversaries, even weather reports. These samples are a great starting point for testing out some of the key card components. This site also has a simple designer tool that allows you to play around with the different card elements to create your own unique solution. In our situation, Adele has gone ahead and created a custom thank you card on behalf of the team. Now let's go and send this message to our team channel. In addition to the custom adaptive card, Adele has already gone ahead and made a celebrations card flow. When we go in to edit the flow, you'll see how simple it is to post an adaptive card to a chat or channel in Microsoft Teams. We define who sends the card, where it's sent, and what kind of card is sent by copying over the code from the adaptive card designer site that we were just on. Let's hop into Teams to see the result. Outstanding. Our flow posted successfully, and it even included a fun little clickbait GIF button at the end. With this, our employee recognition transformation is complete, as well as our overall productivity improvement initiative. We can go back into our loop and mark our final activity as complete. Let's quickly recap what we saw in the employee recognition transformation segment. The Employee Ideas app can help organizations foster a culture of innovation and collaboration by encouraging employees to share their ideas and collaborate on solutions. The app also provides insights and metrics on the idea submission process, allowing organizations to evaluate the impact of their employee engagement initiatives. And whether you're sending recognition through Viva Insights with praise or as an adaptive card in Power Automate, reinforcing recognition can encourage a culture of appreciation and positivity, as well as foster a sense of community and belonging among your employees.
Tatiana, that was really awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. So when we started this session back in the very beginning, we heard from our friends at Lumen, and we got insight into this tremendous and very large culture of citizen development that they spent time building. But they didn't get there overnight, and you don't have to either. As we've seen from what Tatiana has showed us, there are smaller building blocks that we can begin with to start empowering our employees and seeding that transformation that ultimately will lead us to a culture of citizen development where our employees are positively impacting our business with their ingenuity, their creativity, and the solutions that they create using the Power Platform. Enabling our users to implement some of these productivity automations is a great place to start. It's not the only place to start. So I hope you all are now thinking about what this journey might look like in your own organization. And I hope you're inspired to build it. I hope you're inspired to build a citizen development program and community. My name is Lee Borishow, and on behalf of the entire App Factory team, we're really, really glad that you decided to spend just an hour of your day here with us. And we hope to see you on the next edition of the Microsoft Teams App Factory.